All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Welcome to the Fantasy Sports Boss Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Monday, September 16th, 2024. We got a lot to get to. We're going to call Fantasy Football Week 2 Sunday, Black Sunday, because the injuries came fast and furious, and there were some big name players who went down. We're going to get through all of that. Plus, I'm going to go through the games yesterday in terms of my reaction to them from a fantasy football perspective, big performances, duds, all that stuff. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Can't help you if you're not a subscriber, and anybody who was a subscriber yesterday saw I put up about 30 videos throughout the course of that's maybe much, maybe 20 throughout the course of the day, all the injuries and whatnot. So make sure you're part of the weekly schedule here. Now, the biggest news, of course, is Isiah Pacheco. He's going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks with a broken fibula. Just a devastating injury for both the Chiefs and his fantasy football owners. And unfortunately, this is what you sign up for with Isiah Pacheco. I made note this morning in the injury wrap-up. Guys like him and James Conner and Aaron Jones and Kenneth Walker, you go into the season knowing they're going to miss some time. And you just hope it's not a serious injury. You hope it's like, 2 to 3 games tops, and that they avoid that serious injury. Well, that did not happen with Isiah Pacheco, who now the Chiefs are left to pick up the pieces as he's going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks. So that's pretty much a very big sizable chunk of the regular season. So if you're a fantasy football owner of Pacheco, obviously you hold on to him. But now what happens in his place? Is it Carson Steele? Is it Samaje Perine? Is it both? Are they going to sign Kareem Hunt, who they brought in for a workout? To me, the most fantasy friendly of the trio would be Kareem Hunt if he signed on. But I mean, this is not the Kareem Hunt that was with the Chiefs, turned into a sudden star as a rookie before the Chiefs kicked him off the team for a domestic incident where he put his hands on a woman. But he would get the goal line carries. He would probably get the majority of rushing carries once he's up to speed. But Kareem Hunt looked completely shot the last time he played. So to me, I mean, PPR league, Samaje Perine, he's going to catch some passes out of the backfield. None of the Carson Steele, none of these guys will make me jump out and change my waiver wire number this week. Like, I just don't think any of those guys are worth the trouble, to be honest with you. But Isiah Pacheco, that's a big one. Another big one is Cooper Kupp, who's left in the walking boot with a serious ankle injury. Apparently, according to Sean McVay, he's likely going to go on the IR as well. It's getting really ugly already for the Rams. They've lost Puka Nacua for 5 to 7 weeks with a knee injury, and now Cooper Kupp, who again, and it's just such a freaking shame because I have him in one league, that he's now going to be out for as long as he's going to be out. And that's minimum of 4 games. And the fact that he's in a walking boot, that's a serious issue there. So yeah, that's a big blow if you're a Cooper Kupp owner like myself. And they got a hellacious schedule coming up too, the Rams. I mean, they don't have anybody left. I mean, Kyron Williams is playing awful, but if you would have listened to me, you wouldn't have drafted him anyway. Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, I mean, even Colby Parkinson. I don't want any parts of this offense right now. And that's amazing to me. I want zero part of this Rams offense right now, all the way across the board. Now, the flip side of that is, how about the Arizona Cardinals? If you had a fantasy team of just Arizona Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, James Conner, you're probably in first place right now with a 2-0 record. Also first place with a 2-0 record in shocking fashion. We're going to start with that. The New Orleans Saints absolutely dismantling the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. Just an embarrassing game by Dallas. And, it really goes to show you that, once again, this team just can't get out of its own way. Mike McCarthy has his issues as head coach. The offense is completely absent of talent besides CeeDee Lamb, with Jake Ferguson being out. He missed a game with injury. He should be back this week. Dak Prescott in this one, 27 of 39. The completion percentage was good, 293, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So he's forcing things. And here's the thing with Dak too. I know he had 12 yards rushing, but he's not a runner anymore. When he first came into the league, he would score 5 touchdowns on the ground. He would rush for about 300 yards. Like, he was a help on that front. But if he's not throwing at least 2 touchdowns a game, then it's not going to be good. All right? CeeDee Lamb was the top target, 4 for 90 and a touchdown. But even CeeDee Lamb, like his numbers haven't exactly jumped off the page so far. Jalen Tolbert, 6 for 82 as he stepped up with Jake Ferguson being out. Brandon Cooks was only 2 for 19. The running game, Rico Dowdle. So here's the thing with the running game. Rico Dowdle came out first with the starters. And he netted the most carries, 7 for 30. 4.3 average. Ezekiel Elliott, 6 for 16, only 2.7. Dowdle also caught 4 passes for 29 yards. Elliott, 2 for 16. So Rico Dowdle already now, 2 weeks in, is starting to make a push for the starting job. Now, I have Rico Dowdle on the bench on one of my teams. I think he's a decent pickup this week where available because, again, a good Dallas offensive line. He can catch the ball. He's got an Isiah Pacheco type game to him. So I think Rico Dowdle is somebody that we should be interested in. Derek Carr will break up the Saints. 11 of 16, 243, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And I said this last week. If you go back to the last 5 games of last season and the first 2 this year, Derek Carr is playing like a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. The touchdowns are coming from all directions. All right, he looked bad the first half of last year, but this new offense especially is really jiving with Carr, and it's really helping everybody all the way around. Rashid Shaheed, 4 catches for 96 yards and another touchdown. All right, Chris Olave, 4 for 81. So back in the good graces, didn't score, but, he drew 6 targets, the most targets. That's good, so that's a good sign there. But Rashid Shaheed is now running a full allotment of snaps and routes. So he should not be available anymore on waiver wires. Now, he's I know he scored touchdowns the first couple of games, and Chris Olave has not scored a touchdown the first couple of games. I think that's going to probably reverse itself as we go along. But but Shaheed has been unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. Now, the big story, of course, though, is Alvin Kamara. I told you to draft Alvin Kamara, not to be, I know my stance on aging running backs, but the caveat I had with Kamara at 29 was that despite the the age concerns, his rushing average had fallen below 4 in 2 of the last 3 years. I was still in on him because of how many targets he gets. He's a PPR cheat code. And that's why I was willing to give him another look in one of my leagues. I do own him in one of my leagues. 20 carries. You talk about bell cow carries. 20 carries, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. 5.8 a pop. And then 2 for 65 in the passing game and another touchdown. Alvin Kamara right now, if the draft was held tomorrow, would be an early second-round pick. Like, Alvin Kamara is just playing stupid right now. Now, do you want to sell high on him? I mean, you could. He's an aging back. Injuries could be an issue at some point, but man, I actually think you should just ride this out. I really do. All right, let's go over to Tampa Bay, who knocked off the Detroit Lions. And, Baker Mayfield continues to play well, 12 of 19, 185, a touchdown and a pick. Of course, last week he tossed 4 touchdowns. But, again, he's more super flex than anything. Just because he doesn't run, he's touchdown dependent. Although he did have 34 rushing yards and a second score yesterday, but that's not the norm. We know that. He's not a scrambler. A couple of things here with the running game. So Rachaad White, for the second game in a row, was beyond fucking pathetic running the ball. 10 for 18, 1.8 a carry. When is it gonna get to the point where the Buccaneers just give Bucky Irvin the ball and just use White on third down? All right, Rachaad White only caught 1 pass for 5 yards. Bucky Irving, 7 carries for 22 yards, not much better, 3.1 per carry. But he is the better, more explosive back, and I'm telling you, do not cut Bucky Irvin. Hold on to him. It's going to be worth it. Jared Goff, 34 of 55 for 307. No touchdowns. All of those passes, he did not throw a single touchdown, 2 interceptions. It was just a bad game for the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I told you not to worry about him. He was back to the target hog. Amon-Ra, 11 catches, 119 yards. He got banged up. Dan Campbell clarified it today. He's going to be fine. He will play this week. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, at least that's one name. Disaster did not strike there, so that's good to hear. Jamison Williams, 5 for 79 in a passing game. So he's continuing now. If he can continue to get 4, 5, 6 catches a game, he could be a low-end wide receiver too in this offense. Jahmyr Gibbs, 13 carries for 84 yards, 6.5 a pop. 7 catches for 22 yards. So Jahmyr Gibbs is, he's basically a younger Alvin Kamara. All right. When Kamara first broke in, it was a lot of catches, and he was complimenting Mark Ingram in the running game. Jahmyr Gibbs, a lot of catches. He's complimenting David Montgomery. Montgomery, 11 for 35. He was not good, but he saved the day with another touchdown. He caught 4 passes for 35 yards. The biggest disappointment, though, has been Sam Laporta, and he's not alone at the tight end position. 2 catches for 13 yards. If you want to try to buy low on him, I don't think there's any window there. But a lot of the top tight ends have gone belly up so far, whether it's Kelsey, whether it's Sam Laporta, whether it's Evan Ingram. It's been Mark Andrews. It's been bad. Green Bay, 16-10 victors over the 0-2 Indianapolis Colts. I mean, yikes. What is going on there? Malik Willis actually was fairly decent. It was a very stripped down, run heavy script, though. Josh Jacobs, 32 carries for 151 yards. That was almost criminal how many carries they gave Josh Jacobs. And I own Jacobs in 2 of my 3 leagues, so I wasn't too thrilled to see that many carries on a back who's not exactly young, but he averaged 4.7 per carry. He was terrific. Did not catch a pass, but he's a good receiver. We'll see that going forward. I told you to bench all the Packer receivers. Hopefully you listened. Jaden Reed was only 2 for 9 in the passing game. I know Romeo Dobbs went 3 for 62, but he's a borderline guy for me. All right, so here's the bad with Anthony Richardson. He is really struggling as a passer. And if he's not putting up chunky yardage in the running game and scoring touchdowns in the running game, you're going to get a shitty performance as you got yesterday. 17 for 34 for 204, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Like, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn yesterday. For only 4 carries for 37 yards. No touchdown. So it was a complete bomb of an outing for Anthony Richardson. All right? He's still a young player. He's still a young passer. This is what's going to happen. All right? He's going to go through these ebbs and flows. And that's just all there is. That's all there is to it. Now, Alec Pierce, believe it or not, has been the number 1 guy. 5 for 56 in a passing game and a touchdown. Michael Pittman has been invisible. 3 for 21. And I said this. Michael Pittman's best work last year came with Gardner Minshew. He didn't exactly jive with Anthony Richardson. So if you're a Michael Pittman owner in a PPR league, he went fairly high. This is not a good thing. What is a good thing, though, is Jonathan Taylor looks like the star version of Jonathan Taylor from 3 years ago. 12 carries for 103 yards. He was just awesome. He even caught 2 passes for 32 yards. So Jonathan Taylor is back as a firm running back 1, but he's not going to catch a lot of passes in this offense. The Jets, 24-17 victors over the Titans. A little bit more of a struggle than I thought it would be. Aaron Rodgers tosses 2 touchdowns in this game. And, some really ugly turnovers by Will Levis. I think he was a bit of a curiosity because of his ability to run and his strong arm in the preseason, but he shouldn't be owned anywhere. Rodgers, 18 for 31, 76 and 2 touchdowns. All right, so the Jets running game. Breece Hall, 14 carries for 62 yards, but made his hay in the passing game. 7 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. He's like almost more wide receiver than running back. And then how about this? Braylon Allen, who every Breece Hall owner should have on their bench as a handcuff. 7 carries for 33 yards and a score. And then he catches 2 balls for 23 yards and a score. I think Braylon Allen is a top 5 handcuff. And I think Braylon Allen could be a top 12 PPR back if anything happens to Breece Hall. And Breece Hall got banged up a little bit in this one. He had a little bit of a calf issue. That's why Allen played a little bit more than expected. But Breece Hall is not exactly lighting the world on fire in the running game. And the passing game has been terrific. Garrett Wilson not lighting the world on fire. 4 for 57. He had 1 carry for 5 yards. It's been a little quieter than we thought. I really was of that fraternity that believed Garrett Wilson could lead the NFL in receptions with Aaron Rodgers. Of course, you may be able to buy it low on him. There might be a small window, but I still think Garrett Wilson is going to be tremendous. Tony Pollard continues to be the bell cow in a very nice development for this Tennessee offense. 17 of 62 on the ground, 5 catches for 40 yards. This is the Tony Pollard from a couple of years ago, guys. This is it. Like Tajay Spears, 6 carries for 20 yards, and he caught 2 passes out of the backfield. But really, it was just Calvin Ridley, 4 catches for 77 yards that did the job here for Tennessee. And he also had a second touchdown running the ball. DeAndre Hopkins, meanwhile, remains completely invisible. Calvin Ridley is going to be that big play guy in this offense, like DeAndre Hopkins was a couple of years ago. All right, but yes, the big thing is the stock on Tony Pollard is going up sharply because of his usage. San Francisco upset by the Minnesota Vikings. How about this? Sam Darnold beats his former team. Again, I brought up Geno Smith. This could be a situation where he just needed the right fit, like Geno Smith in Seattle. Sam Darnold looks great. 17 of 26, 268. 2 touchdowns and a pick, and he ran for 32 yards. So there's some running juice here on Sam Darnold that not a lot of people realize. What was interesting here is the running game. So Ty Chandler paced the Vikings 10 for 82. Aaron Jones 9 for 32. He's struggling. He lost a fumble. Jones did catch 5 passes for 36 yards, while no catches for Ty Chandler. But this is not what you want to see if you're an Aaron Jones owner. Ty Chandler putting up 8.2 yards per carry. And he's a very capable back. So if Aaron Jones is going to start splitting carries, maybe because he fumbled, that's why he didn't get as much work. But off that big week 1, this is a little step back in the outlook on Aaron Jones. Justin Jefferson, 4 for 133 and a touchdown, had that monstrous 97-yard catch. He too got banged up, went to the tent, went to the locker room, turned out to be an abdominal strain. He's going to be fine. Brock Purdy, 28 of 36, 319, a touchdown and interception. Very, very accurate. The yardage was there. Jordan Mason, second straight 100-yard game, right on the nose. 20 carries for 100 yards. Only 1 catch for 4 yards. So they're not using Jordan Mason in the passing game. So he did score a touchdown running the ball. It's very imperative that Mason continues to contribute touchdowns on the ground. Deebo Samuel, 2 carries, minus 10 yards, but he made up for it in the passing game. 8 catches for 110. Brandon Ayuk only 4 for 43. George Kittle, big game here off a quiet week 1, 7 for 76 in the score. So with Christian McCaffrey being out, I expect George Kittle to be a bigger part of this offense. There's receptions up for grabs now, and he kind of filled that vacuum in this one. Brandon Ayuk still working off the rust, but Deebo Samuel has been tremendous so far this season. I haven't been a fan of his in the past, but I'll admit he's been really good. Seattle, 2-0. Knocks off the stubborn Patriots 23-20. Zach Charbonnet was really bad. He saved his day by scoring a touchdown, 14 for 38 on the ground. It was just a pathetic performance. He did catch 5 balls for 31 yards, but it goes to show you why Charbonnet is just not, why Kenneth Walker was going to remain the bell cow back. I started Charbonnet. The 17-plus points, that was good, but I'm kind of over him now, and he's really starting to show his limitations as a runner. DK Metcalf, now that he's away from Pat Surtain, 10 catches, 129 yards, and a score. Jackson Smith and Jigba, folks, 12 catches for 117 yards. Tyler Lockett, 2 for 15, left in the dust. This Jackson Smith and Jigba, if he's available anywhere, he would be the number 1 waiver claim for me this week, I believe. Or at least a top 3 waiver claim, because he was that good. This guy was the top receiver drafted. He was considered the most talented receiver in the Ohio State room, and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson were there, and he's showing it here. So, and in DK Metcalf having a huge game as well, that was big. On the Patriots side, Ramondre Stevenson, 21 of 81, and he scores 2 catches for 9 yards, so he continues to be the bell cow. Although Antonio Gibson, 11 for 96, 1 catch for 7 yards. So that was a good showing by Gibson, but I don't think he's much of a threat there. Hunter Henry, 8 catches for 109 yards. So Hunter Henry, with all these tight ends struggling, he comes out and puts out this 8 for 109. We know Jacoby Brissett loves to throw to his tight ends. And listen, if you're hurting at tight end, there's a guy you can pick up. All right, Washington knocks off the New York Giants. They score on all 7 of their possessions. Wasn't as exciting a game for Jaden Daniels, but he was 23 of 29 passing, so he threw the ball really well accuracy-wise. 226, no touchdowns, no picks. He only ran for 44 yards. So Jaden Daniels, there's some growing pains he's going to have to get to. I don't think he's an every-week start guy. Who is an every-week start guy is Brian Robinson, 17 for 133. I spoke multiple times He only had 1 catch for 3 yards. He's not going to be using the passing game, but I spoke multiple times how Brian Robinson is going to be, in a Cliff Kingsbury offense, a major weapon and a big-time scorer, especially in standard leagues. He's going to have a huge year. Malik and Neighbors, 10 for 127 and a score. The Giants now fully unleash him, target him, what have you. Had a late drop in this one, but Malik Neighbors, if you put Malik Neighbors on the Kansas City Chiefs, he could possibly, on talent alone, be a top 5 receiver. Like, he is that good. Devin Singletary had a good one, 16 to 95 and a touchdown. Did have a fumble, 1 pass caught for no yards. But Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy is just not a threat to him in the hierarchy there, and now we continue to start him. Los Angeles, 26-3 over Carolina. Carolina has pulled the plug on Bryce Young. They are going with Andy Dalton this week. That should be a boost to Deontay Johnson owners, who, of course, have seen nothing go right. Deontay, 3 catches for 15 yards. I'm not even going to talk about anybody on the Panthers. It's not worth it. For the Chargers, Justin Herbert, only 20 passing attempts for 130 yards and 2 scores. So he's very touchdown dependent in this run-heavy offense. He did lose a fumble. But J.K. Dobbins, right now, he's the front runner for Comeback Player of the Year. 17 carries for 131 yards. All the speed seems like it's back. He scored a touchdown. Only caught 1 pass. They're not using him in the passing game as much. Listen, the guy looks like one of the steals of the draft right now. But can he stay healthy? That's always the key. Quentin Johnson, 5 for 51 and 2 scores. I wouldn't put him in the circle of trust yet, but at least we're seeing some signs that he can be a contributor. After his draft, sizable draft pedigree. Cleveland Browns, 18-13 over Jacksonville. The Jacksonville offense is completely broken. It's completely broken. And listen, I'll take the hit on Trevor Lawrence, 14 for 30, 220. Took a safety. I mean, it's just been bad. Like, I can't make any more excuses for the guy. I don't get it. He's got more talent than anybody, and it's just not happening. Travis Etienne, 13 to 52, took advantage of a Tank Bigsby injury, scored a touchdown, 3 catches for 6 yards. But even in his passing game, Brian Thomas Jr., 2 for 94. He's showing star ability, but that's all he was able to get his hands on. Christian Kirk is a clear bench, 1 catch for -1 yards, embarrassing. Cleveland, nothing again from Deshaun Watson. Jerry Jeudy led the way with 5 for 73. He's a borderline start. And Amari Cooper, 3 catches for 11 yards. The first 2 weeks have been an utter disaster for him. I don't even know what you do there. Do you bench Amari Cooper? I don't think so, but he's like dropping in the flex territory. And how about the Baltimore Ravens? They are now 0-2 on the season. So Baltimore, Lamar Jackson tosses a touchdown and a pick, rushes for 45 yards, so a much less effective game here. Derrick Henry scored again, 2nd straight game he scored. I still think he's going to be right there as the league leader in touchdowns. Zay Flowers, target hog all the way. Very, very PPR friendly, 7 for 91 in the score. He's a high-end wide receiver too. He's made that level. And Mark Andrews got things back on track, 4 for 51. While Isiah likely was only 2 for 26. Gardner Minshew had a good game, 30 of 38, 276, a score and a pick. Even in a game, though, where the Raiders won, Zamir White was just 9 for 24. So, unless you're in a standard league, I think you got to bench Zamir White. It's just, we haven't seen anything good there. What you do like, though, about Gardner Minshew is he's a gunslinger. All right, he plays with his hair on fire. He just throws it all over the line. And we saw Devontae Adams go 9 for 110 in the score. And Brock Bowers is playing like a top 5 tight end. Perhaps we should have grouped him in with the other top tight ends, all the ones that are struggling. Because he goes 9 for 98. And he's been right there as one of the top target hogs at the tight end position this season. And I was completely wrong on him. That's a guy I'll take a hit on for sure. Because I faded him. I didn't chase him. I didn't like the offense. I thought they were going to be very run-heavy. That has not happened. All right, he's been phenomenal. And he's a clear start guy the rest of the way. All right, Arizona. Kyler Murray had a day, folks. We all talked about the Rams already, how they're just going to hell with all these injuries. But Kyler Murray, who I liked this year, I told you guys it was him, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love. Those were the 3 quarterbacks I was zeroing in on. Kyler Murray, just loved this offense. 17 to 21, 266, 3 touchdowns, and he rushes for 59 yards. He was right there, one of the stars of the day in fantasy. But it's not just him. Like, look at James Conner. Nobody ever wants to draft James Conner. He won me a league last year. He went 21 of 122 and a score yesterday. He caught a pass for 2 yards, but he averaged 5.8 per carry. Last season, at 28 years old, posted his highest rushing yardage, rushing average. The guy is really freaking good. And he gets disrespected every year. Trey McBride got back on track 67, if it counts in your league, that he got a fumble recovery. Great. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 for 130 and 2 scores, 8 targets. So I told you they would force the ball to him, and that's exactly what they did. But the one thing on the Rams, guys, Kyren Williams, 12 for 25. Like, he sucks. I'm sorry. 4 for 27 in the passing game, fine. I told you all to fade Kyren Williams. That was the easiest call for me this year. Kansas City, whether you want to say they got a gift late, they knocked off the Cincinnati Bengals by a point. It's just a weird offense with the Kansas City Chiefs this year. Patrick Mahomes is throwing touchdowns to Lyman. He threw 2 picks in this one. He did throw 2 touchdowns. It hasn't been a great Mahomes start, but then again, he was only QB7 last year as well. No need to talk about Isiah Pacheco now that he's hurt, but Rashee Rice, 5 for 75. Xavier Worthy, 5 for 21. So they each got 5 catches, but not much flash there. And the Bengals, Joe Burrow did toss 2 touchdowns, which was good, but the running game was no help. And Jamar Chase, 4 for 35. Is he dogging it? I don't know. It doesn't look like he's putting out a top-notch effort, and that you just hate to see crap like that. Pittsburgh knocks off the Denver Broncos, 13-6, nothing happening. I mean, the Steelers are 2-0, so Justin Fields is going to continue to start. I told you this was the possibility once he got the ball, but he was only 13 of 20 for 117 in the score. He only picked up 27 yards. It wasn't really a great game for him. Javonte Williams, 11 for 17 running the ball. The Broncos can't do anything good right now. Bo Nix, 20 of 35 for 246, no touchdowns and 2 picks. And then last night, Houston knocks off Chicago. Nico Collins is stepping forward as the clear top dog, as he should be in this offense. Joe Mixon injured his ankle. Cam Akers came on. He did lose a fumble. No word yet on Mixon's severity. But Nico Collins, 8 for 135 in the score. Stephon Diggs, 4 for 37. This is his job. All right, guys. That's all for today. Hit that subscribe button. Look for the wrap-up on the Eagles-Falcons game tomorrow. I want to see if Drake London can get his season on track, and Kirk Cousins as well. Stay tuned for that. And again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will chat with all of you tomorrow.